Now let's talk about the SolidWorks user interface. Now I personally think the UI in SolidWorks is one of the best around for a few different reasons. The first of which, it gives you a lot of customization. So we can customize the user interface to suit our needs. And the other is it gives you a lot of different ways to access the tools you need. Now through both of those, the UI customization and the way you can access the tools, it can make for very efficient modeling. But I see a lot of users start learning SolidWorks and they never customize it to suit their needs. Now, I probably save quite a bit of time modeling just by customizing my user interface. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about where things are inside of the SolidWorks modeling window, and in future videos, we're going to talk about how to customize it to make it work best for you. Now, because you are a new SolidWorks user, you won't necessarily know what works best for you until you start modeling a few things. But that's okay because I tend to customize my user interface quite a bit, and SolidWorks has made it nice enough that we can copy all the settings that we create, all the things that we change, and save that out so you can swap them out whenever you need to. The first thing I want to talk about, and that's probably the most important area inside of here, and that's going to be the Feature Manager design tree. Now this is going to be where you access most of your data whenever you create a sketch or a feature or anything inside of your modeling environment. It's going to be located in this tree. Now this tree is the bread and butter of a parametric CAD system. This is the history tree. Everything is lined up in order that you create it, and then it gives you access to those features. You can move them around in essentially their timeline, and you can figure out how the model is created by where you place these and how you edit them. You will notice that there are several folders at the top of this, and when we get into actually creating some parts, we can talk about these a little bit more. But we do have customization options here as well. We can show and hide different things, make some come on only when they're needed, and so on. But inside this area, the first tab is going to be where you access your part or your assembly. Now in this case, we're inside of a single part. The next tab over is the Property Manager. Now currently nothing is viewed here, but whenever you create a feature or you're inside of the editing of a feature or a sketch or whatever it is, all the information about whatever you're selecting is going to be located on this Properties tab. The next is the Configurations Manager. Farther down the line in our series, we're going to talk about configurations, so don't worry too much about what this means just yet. But I do want to just make note that you have access to the configurations as well as display states on this tab. Next over is your Dimension Expert Manager. Now, the Dimension Expert is a tool for those that know how to use it. Now, we're not going to cover it in our series because it's a little bit more of an advanced topic, but if you want more information on this, certainly go into your help file, search for Dim Expert, and figure out if that works best for you, whatever you guys are deciding to model, and then you can make use of that tool as well. The next one over is the Display Manager. This is where we get access to things like appearances, decals, as well as cameras and lights and any scene traits that we add. Currently there's nothing here because we have no appearances, we have no solid bodies. But later on down the road, when we start to add appearances, materials, cameras, lights, things like that to our parts and our assemblies, then this will start to make a little bit more sense and it'll populate and we can talk a little bit about what we do inside here. So that's an overview of the Feature Manager design tree, but there's a little bit more to it that a lot of people don't use. Over to the right, you'll notice that there's a little right arrow here. Now, if we click that with our left mouse button, it brings up a few more options. Now, the first one is hide and show. This is a very quick way for you to do things like hide your sketches, hide features, or hide solid bodies or the entire model altogether. The next one over only really makes sense when you start to have solid geometry. For instance, if we extrude this, now as we look in this column, we can do things like modify the appearance of a solid box. We can leave it as default, we can change it to shaded, we can do wireframe, we can do hidden lines. So these are great ways that we can modify how things look to us. So we're going to go ahead and leave this as shaded with edges. We'll expand this and we'll make sure that our sketch is